All of the Women of the Bible by Edith Dean. Delilah. You can read about Delilah in Judges chapter 16, verses 4, 6, 10, 12, 13, and 18. A woman representing the Philistines, enemies to Samson's Hebrew race, inveigles and betrays him for money paid by enemy. Learning that his strength is in his hair, she has it shaved off. He awakens to find strength gone. Entice him, and see where his strength lies. Delilah typifies the terrible energy of evil in a woman, just as Samson typifies the preternatural strength in a man. She has come down through these 31 centuries as the woman who, in an insidious manner, sought to destroy a man who seemed to be unconquerable. The rabbis generally concede that Delilah was a Philistine, and Josephus declares her to have been one. Samson, one of the most eminent Hebrew judges, had to his credit many heroic achievements against the Philistines. They hated him and sought to work his ruin through Delilah. She lived, we are told, in the valley of Sorek, a brook valley which cut through the foothills between the Philistine plains and the highlands of Judah. When Samson went down to see Delilah, he had already demonstrated that he was a giant in physical strength, but that when it came to women, he was a dwarf in willpower and moral resistance. Shortly before going down to see Delilah, he had visited a harlot. The Bible text relates this quite casually in Judges chapter 16, verse 1, as if Samson had a low sense of morals. Earlier than this, he had been married to a woman living in Timnath, a daughter of the Philistines. She turned out to be a weeping and inconstant wife. Judges chapter 14, verses 17 and 20. While Samson was away, she was courted by his friend. Samson's mother and father, Manoah, a godly pair, had objected to the marriage of their son, who from the womb had been consecrated to God, in Judges chapter 13, verse 5. His wife did not believe in the one God, but when Samson's parents expressed their objection to her, he answered them, saying, "She pleaseth me well," in Judges chapter 14, verse 3. Though victimized by these two seductive women, Samson started courting Delilah, who turned out to be the worst of the three. When he came into her presence, he became a slave to passion, and he let himself forget that his paramour was a Philistine in sympathy, while he had consecrated his life to deliver Israel out of the hands of the Philistines. He was blind to the fact that Delilah was a woman who finally would lure him to his ruin, and all for 1,100 pieces of silver from each of the lords of the Philistines. We can be sure that Delilah possessed a fascinating quality and had an exotic kind of beauty. Though the Bible gives us no exact details of this or of what she wore, she undoubtedly decked herself in her finest clothes when an eminent man like Samson called. Probably she wore a dress embroidered with gold threads from Ophir and colored threads dyed with Tyrian dyes. In her ears and on her ankles, fingers, and toes she wore gold jewelry. It is likely that she also used perfumes from India, and she made of her home a charming and restful place. We can imagine that she had musicians playing with dulcimer and lyre on the garden terrace, where a fountain sprayed, cooling the area. Her home probably had become a frequent retreat for the eminent and mighty Samson. He was completely blind to the fact that Delilah was a deceitful woman determined to find out the secret of his great strength so that his enemies could conquer him. One day, while she was alone with Samson, she boldly asked him, "Tell me, I pray thee, wherein thy great strength lieth, and wherewith thou mightest be bound to afflict thee." Judges chapter 16, verse 6. She spoke in jest, as if to make him believe that no man could bind him. He replied, pretending to reveal the means by which she might test his invincible strength. But each time he tricked her. This became a game to them, she coaxing him to tell her the source of his strength, and he giving her a series of wrong explanations. Day after day during their lovemaking, she pressed him hard for the answer. Finally, one day, Samson confessed to her the secret of his strength, which, he said, was in the locks of his hair. If they were shaved, he told her, his strength would leave him, and he would be like any other man. He revealed to her that even before his birth he had been consecrated to God, and he had kept the Nazirite vows, one of which was that his hair would not be cut. When he told Delilah all that was in his heart, she made him fall asleep on her knee. And as he slept, she called for a man to shave the 7 locks from his head. When he awoke, he discovered too late that Delilah had deceived him. She was not a tender lover, but a cruel enemy. The Philistines be upon thee, Samson, Judges chapter 16, verse 20. She said, as she awoke him, and Samson knew that his strength had been gone from him. We wonder where Delilah was as the Philistines came forth and seized Samson, gouging out his eyes and binding him with bronze fetters. Did she know that the eyes which had gazed on her in delighted love, had now been cruelly mutilated? Had she gone to collect and to spend those 1,100 pieces of silver from each of the lords of the Philistines? And where was Delilah when the lords of the Philistines and the throngs of other Philistines gathered at a great festival and public sacrifice to their god Dagon? Was Delilah again with them? Did she see Samson stand between the pillars and the great assembly hall and pull them down? If so, she probably perished along with the hundreds of others upon whom the building fell. Milton, in his dramatic poem Samson Agonistes in 1671, represents Delilah as coming to the prison while Samson was there and offering to atone for her faithlessness, but there is no biblical authority for this. The 3-act grand opera Samson et Delilah by Saint Saens, first performed at Weimar December 2nd, 1877, also follows the Bible theme. So does Handel's oratorio Samson, first performed at Covent Garden, London during the Lenten season in 1742. Could it be that Delilah also was the woman who prompted the words in Proverbs, "For the lips of a strange woman drop as in honeycomb, and her mouth is smoother than oil," in Proverbs chapter 5, verse 3. Thank you, and if you would like to hear more, please visit acceptyoubeconverted.com.